Hello, welcome back to Zekism, and I'm here to review or give my thoughts or give my final thoughts on Stranger Things, the finale, the last episode ever until they spin it off, which has been confirmed, which I don't really want to talk about. But for now, the final ever Stranger Things episode. And yeah, I've seen it twice now, so I think I feel confident in giving my thoughts on the show in general as much as the finale, the last episode. And I think the overriding emotion I have is resolution. I feel rewarded as a long-time fan. And I let's hark back to 2016. Stranger Things debuted on Netflix. I think I saw it a month after it had debuted because, again, word of mouth. And I loved it from start to finish that season. I was like, this is brilliant. This is a lovely little show. It's a brilliant little interesting story about the disappearance of the child. And Winona Ryder's performance was amazing in season 1. And again, people forget Winona Ryder hadn't really been on the scene for so long until Stranger Things season 1. And you see her in so much other stuff now. Not a lot, but you do see her more in, the Beetlejuice resurgence. 80s nostalgia wasn't really a thing before Stranger Things, and now we've gone more or less a decade of 80s nostalgia being a thing, and now I think we're probably going to dovetail into 90s, which makes me feel old. But yeah, so much of Stranger Things season 1 shaped what, I guess, I don't want to say Hollywood studios, but a lot of cultural fandoms sprung out of the success of Stranger Things. And I think it's right and proper to celebrate it, and I think it will go down. Now it's a behemoth. It's a phenomenal, huge TV show that has so much pressure going into the final episode that they were probably never going to please the audience that they've been able to generate. I mean, it's massive now in terms of, we're talking Game of Thrones style, and I would imagine, I don't know for sure, I would imagine much like the previous episodes of this season, it hasn't pleased all audiences, but that's fine. I think it never really is going to. So those are my feelings about that. I think with the episode itself, or with the season, should I say, I think the season's been a mixed bag, for good and for bad. I think I've seen a majority of the complaints that have come in. Some I agree with, some I don't. And I think it has. We go to the negatives, I guess, for the season. It has felt a little rushed, and I don't know for sure. I don't know if that's the case. I just feel like there's an element of a lot of things that the Under Armour thing, for example, is just such a silly thing, but it has felt like a season that could have been gestated just a little bit more. The writing could have been a little bit sharper. The plot line could have been refined a little bit more, just to make things sort of cross. The T's get crossed and the I's get dotted a little bit more. But I think overall it's a good season. As good as 4? Probably not. Is that fair? Again, probably not. But I think season 4 felt like such a bigger season. Such a grander, more threatening, with the villain itself. I think it felt like such a more tightly constructed, neatly presented, really great season. And this one has felt a little bit spotty at times, and a little bit like, okay, what are we doing? There's a little bit of, I haven't felt like this with Stranger Things for a while, but a lot of padding going on. And could you be doing a little bit more? Could we present more of a threat, perhaps? Anyway, those are nitpicky, but I think overall the season's good. I think most of the positives for me would be, again, a reward for being a long-term fan of not just the show, but these characters. I love the characters in the show. Genuinely care about them and want to see them succeed, but also want to see them live. And I think that's going to be the crux of whether you did or didn't like this finale and this episode, the resolution of the season itself, which we can get into now, and we are going to get into spoilers here because I can't really talk about it without spoiling it. So if you haven't seen it, please go see it. If not, then ignore me for the remainder of the video and then go elsewhere. But yeah, like I said, I think it made me rewarded to be a fan of these characters. We didn't get any deaths, which is one of the things I speculated, and most people, if not all people, were saying, who are we going to lose in the finale? Because they were setting up, quite deliberately probably, that we were going to lose people. Now, it's not to say we didn't get any deaths. Obviously, I think the only one confirmed would be Callie, and that's, again, a pause of possible, if not just Vecna himself. But I think, like I said, I love these characters, so I wasn't disappointed to not see any of them die. I was surprised because I was bracing myself for it, but it didn't happen. But I think it was, for me, a positive, and the ending felt right, and it felt really well done. Actually, the last 20 minutes in particular, I think, were really good and really rewarding, because it was, I don't want to say a D&D style ending, but it was very much a, like, I can only think of Inception at this point, where it's like, did it happen or didn't it? You know, make your own mind up about what you believe, and they even say it in the show, what you believe the ending is. Is it the one that's presented or the one that's hypothesized by Mike? And I thought it was a really beautiful scene where he's, you know, becoming a storyteller himself, but also, you know, hypothesizing the future of these characters. And we sort of see a little bit with some of the characters. We see what happens with Joyce and Hopper. We see what happens with Steve and Nancy and Jonathan and Robin. More than others, but it's yeah, a really satisfying ending for fans of those characters as much as the show. I know fans would probably have said before the finale they were looking forward in a perverse way to seeing some of them die, but I think on the whole I was pleased to not see any of the characters that I like, some more than others, but I think see any of them you know, die or sacrifice themselves. And I think, like I said, I like the ambiguous ending. The acting, I've seen critique this season. I don't know how anyone could critique the acting in the finale in particular. I thought all of the acting was really good. Emotional at times, on point. And I think the Duffers did a really good job in terms of presenting, I think, making you like the character, reminding you why you liked the characters from season 1. And that's why I think I was rewarded as a long-time fan, because I think if you liked these characters, then again, you know, the Millie Bobby Brown of it all, for example, who I know rubs people up the wrong way, but they showed you enough. Like, you know, flashbacks is a cheap trick, but I think it was used really, really well in the finale to remind you why you liked this show in the first place. Not because of the beer moth or the grand cultural relevant show that it's become, but why season 1 was so effective for the audience, and why you liked Stranger Things in the first place, and therefore it helped you want to root for these characters to be happy in the end. And I think I really liked the way it ended, really beautifully. And again, spoiler, but it really ended with that passing the torch to the younger generation. I love Dustin's speech at the graduation about, you know, friends. I mean, it was a little bit on the nose and a bit cheesy, but I thought it was really great and very 80s movie inspired. And I really liked it. Not to say that the episode was a resounding success. I think the final fight was weird. I think that was probably the weakest element of the finale. Like I said, and this is where season 4 is going to be an overall, like a black cloud over it, because the final fight of season 4 felt more grand. The threat level felt bigger in season 4 than this huge kaiju style monster that they're fighting, as well as Vecna. And I think I could be wrong, I think they dispatched with it easier in this season than they did with the last season. So yeah, I think that was I like the twist of the Mind Flayer in general, you know, being like an upturned spider. I hadn't seen that, actually, to be fair, so I was a bit like, oh, that's a good twist. But I think the final fight was really weird because it looked like they dispatched with them easier than they had in previous years. And I think the threat level in general could have been upped in this season. Like, Vecna seemed underpowered this season compared to last. And I know you could say, well, because the heroes had strengthened themselves over the course of this season. And for anyone who's listening, I really liked Will's realization of his powers by rejecting the fear that was imposed by him by Vecna. I think it really worked narratively, but I think the threat levels in this season weren't there, and that probably plays a part as to why people weren't as into it as season 4, but that's me speculating. Another real negative, I think, is the military in general in this season were just sort of there. I don't think they were ever really a threat. I just don't know why the military were there other than to be annoying, and because they were a plot device that was there because obviously they would be there if the town was in quarantine. It was just a plot device rather than anything that was actually threatening to the heroes and stuff. So but in particular Linda Hamilton, who I know they do 80s cameos every season, and I was really excited to see Linda Hamilton come back. What was she in the show for? Sarah Connor herself, and she had a couple of moments where she looked, but I don't know what. I've heard the critique that maybe Papa should have been coming back in this one rather than season 4. Again, that plays a part as to why the threat level was worse in season 4 than this one. But it does seem like season 5, again, this goes to my point about season 5 feeling rushed, is because if you were properly planning or plotting out seasons 4 and 5, it probably would be an amalgamation of both that would probably make the better season. But then I like the way 4, maybe 4 should have been the last one, let's be honest, but we're here with 5, and I think there are, and I don't want to say they're just flaws because they're not, but I feel like, those are sort of my overall gripes. Other than that, the sort of overall final plot was really truncated and felt rushed. And I think that's probably why people were underwhelmed by episode 7, because we had the big scene with Will, and we had Max coming out of her coma, or the aftermath of her coming out of the coma. And then they're talking about the upside down and the plan, and then that was it. We were braced for the finale, but we weren't really hyped for it. So I think I've gone over my overall points, but I will end with my overall feeling having watched the episode. So when it closed and the credits rolled, I felt satisfied. I felt like I had been given the spectacle that people were saying were missing from previous episodes. I felt like I'd been given the resolution to the story, not the perfect resolution by any stretch of the imagination, but I had a resolution for the broader things that I would want resolved. I really think they should have ignored the play things, but I think if you've got plot points that are from a play that probably most people haven't seen, that's not a great thing. And I know they presented some of the evidence from the play in it, and it wasn't as imperative that you saw the play because of what they presented, but I do feel you would be much more understanding if you had seen the play, or at least knew what happens in the play, to be able to follow what happens in this season. I think that's an L. I really wouldn't do that again. If anyone's listening and open for ideas, don't do that. I think that's silly. Reminds me of Alien Covenant, where they had the opening. Was it the opening scene or the scene between Prometheus and Alien Covenant on the internet, just to catch you up as to where we're starting the film? That's just, what are you doing? That's just silly. But yeah, I think overall the season was a good one, just not as good as the previous one. But I liked how they ended. I liked seeing the characters I love and the show that I've loved for so many years end on a happy note, with, the ambiguous sort of ending with 11, but I think mostly seeing the characters that I've grown to love going on to, to grow up, age out, and to go on and live their lives. And I think that's a really touching way to end it. And overall, I'm very glad that they didn't kill anyone off, although I'm probably in the minority there because people were probably expecting it Game of Thrones style bloodbath, which we didn't particularly get, but we got an amazing scene with Joyce finally delivering the killer blow to Vecna, which will stay with me, because I think that was one of the really well done scenes in the season. Actually, the flashbacks, everyone remembering the trauma of what this man has done to them. Like I said, there's touches of real quality within the season that you can point to and go, no, that was really good, and I'll remember that, and it stacks up with the other great things I've seen from this show. I just wish it was a lot more better constructed, and that's where the sort of the rushed comment comes from me. I wonder if anyone else has got similar opinions about it, but I don't think it's the massive L that people are saying online. I think people have got to chill out a little bit with that, because I don't think it's a total loss. I think there are a lot of good character moments and a lot of good things that the show has going for it in this season, and that adds to the lore. And Will being one of them, I think, you know, Will's journey, if you like, was one that I really will remember, and I think was really good. What do you think? Have you seen the finale? Have you seen the season? What do you think? Am I banging on about nothing, or do you agree with me, or disagree? That's totally fine. Please leave a comment in the comment section below. Please leave a like, subscribe on the channel. I'll see you next time, and thank you very much to the Duffers, because I've loved Strange Things over this time. So thank you. Bye bye.